Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Gillen. I'm here today to review the book. Let me pull it up real quick. Here's the book, Grendel, by John Gardner. Really cool book, really awesome book. So for this review, I'm gonna start off with a little non-spoiler section, just basic summary of the book and some things. Not gonna give anything away. Then I'm gonna transition to the spoiler. So if you haven't read the book, definitely turn it off the spoiler and come back after you read it. So let's just start out the non-spoiler right now, though. So this book is a new perspective on the classic epic poem Beowulf. Um, and in Beowulf, of course, there's stories about a very heroic man named Beowulf, who goes and he kills this evil monster named Grendel, and Grendel is a descendant of Cain, just total evil, nothing good about him, according to Beowulf, of course. Um, but then this story, the story of evil Grendel, is then retold through totally Grendel's perspective and totally Grendel's point of view in John Gardner's novel. So really awesome, looking at different perspectives, and kind of goes with everything, has two perspectives. Every story's got two ways of looking at it. And the story is, or John Gardner's Grendel is written in first person, so it's really awesome because you get a first-hand perspective on what Grendel felt during Beowulf, and you get to see his thoughts and everything, and just everything that he feels and sees, and all of his emotions. So the book kind of raises questions of what's really the difference between man and monster, and how did these monsters develop? Does society develop these monsters, or are they inherently evil? So I'll talk more about those in the spoiler section. For right now, my rating of the book is a 7 out of 10. Good book. I would suggest reading it. Really interesting. Really makes you think about multiple perspectives and everything. It's not the most exciting of books. It doesn't really keep you on your edge that much, but it really makes you think. So it's worth reading. And if you're kind of on the fence about reading it, it's a lot like Frankenstein. Totally a ton like Frankenstein. So if you read Frankenstein and you're into it, definitely read Grendel. I'll talk about that comparison more in the spoiler. Which I'm going to start now. So if you haven't read the book, go ahead and turn this section off because I'm going to start talking, giving away some spoilers. Alright, so in the spoiler section, I'm going to talk about the plot a lot more in depth, kind of go through it, and I'm going to kind of break down the characters and just analyze the plot and characters and some themes after and some symbol. So let's jump right in. So the story starts in chapter 1 with Grendel pretty much depicted the same way he is depicting Beowulf, as just evil monster. The first scene he's like, he's yelling at this ram, and then he goes and during the chapter he raids the mead hall and just looks like a bad dude, just like in Beowulf. So it starts off a monster. And during this first chapter, it was in his 12th year of war with Hrogarth. So we get to see that. But then, in the second chapter, we go back and we start to see how this character develops, how he became a monster. So it goes back all the way to his youth. Just a little kid, and he was just a super innocent little kid. He didn't even know what humans were at that point. And he was just going out, he was hunting, and he gets caught in a tree. And he gets stuck, and some humans come, and they actually, they throw an axe at him. And they would have killed him if his mother hadn't shown up and saved him. So he's curious at that time. He's lonely. His mother doesn't speak to him. She doesn't speak the same language as him. But he's definitely curious, just like any child. And it's really interesting because after this incident happened where the humans were hacking at him with the axe and hurt him and were going to kill him, he talks about how that's not why he started the war with Hrogarth. He started eating all the humans in the meat hall. He said he still liked humans at that point. He was very curious about them, and this kind of transitions to the next chapter. And he was so curious that he watched a lot of them. And one thing that fascinated him was why that they killed each other. It looked from his perspective that the humans just killed each other for no reason. and it was really peculiar to him why they would do that, because they're like on the same team. He thought, that's super ironic, since of course Grendel starts killing the humans himself. So super ironic that he notes that what is going on? Humans are already killing themselves. So yeah, and that kind of touched on the question: how similar are humans and monsters? This Grendel was thought to be so evil because he's killing people, but it says like humans just kill people in this novel, just killed each other for what seemed to Grendel as no reason. So it seemed to someone innocent didn't really know as just killing to kill. But nevertheless, he's so fascinated with these humans, and he watches them, and he watches how the city grows, and how wars are fought, and how eventually Hrothgar wins the war, and nobody can stand up against him because he's the best. And he wins the war, and he colonizes this place. And then Grendel observes this singer named Shapper, and the singer is really interesting because he sings a lot about like good times, and how his words can change stuff, and things a ton about good times. And it says that really bothers Grendel, because Grendel knows that it's not true. Like, none of what this guy is singing is true at all. But he's so fascinated with this guy. He's so fascinated with what he says. And not the novel, it says that Grendel hates this guy. But, it's not really that true, because Grendel repeatedly goes back to him. It's part of the reason, this singer is the one who came up with the idea to make the mead hall. But it's part of the reason that Grendel initially comes back to the mead hall so much is he wants to listen to this guy, which is really interesting. But he claims that he hates him throughout the novel, and truly he hates him because he's jealous of him. He's jealous of this great life that he's learned, because Grendel is super lonely. He feels like he has nobody's like him, which is a lot like Frankenstein. That's another parallel with Frankenstein. Frankenstein felt like nobody was like him, and he turned into a monster. But the same as Grendel, he looked different than everybody else. The humans kind of despised him, and just nobody liked him. But anyways, and he even goes to the singer's funeral once he dies. So it's kind of like he says that he hates this singer, but deep down he kind of is jealous of him and super interested in him. So at first Grendel goes to this hall and just likes listenings, but the first time that he actually interacts with a human, he was not trying to hurt them at all. When he was listening to the singer, and the singer told a story about how God made kind of two paths, and there are two humans. They made the light and the dark is Grendel. And Grendel kind of jumps in because he's really disturbed, because he believes the singer, and he's like, no, I'm good, and he even calls them his friend. But the humans started hating him and started thrashing him and cussing at him, and Grendel kills a couple people, but he didn't want to. He wanted to be friends with them. And I thought a really powerful point that Grendel discusses is after that, and he talks about how all this cussing happens, and how there was these weird cussing words, but Grendel talks about there's not that language, even his kind, he's kind of appalled by it, why would you use the cussing language, only humans have that, which kind of contributes to what's the difference between the monster and the people. It sounds kind of monstrous to just have a wretched language like that. So anyways, I'm skipping kind of ahead, but Grendel, he's really confused, and he goes and sees this dragon. This is about chapter 5, I think. And he goes and sees the dragon, and the dragon's really depressing. The dragon tells him, oh, the world, you mean nothing to the world, and you're just a mere, speck in time, and you really mean nothing. And he talks about how Grendel needs to keep attacking the humans, because him attacking the humans, because basically the humans and Grendel need each other. The humans need Grendel to attack them in order for them to become better. And and Grendel needs the humans to try and stop him. And this is really interesting because Grendel talks about how he could kill the humans in one night if he wanted to. He just wipe them all out, but he doesn't because he wants to come back and he needs to come back, and the humans need him and he needs to come back. So that's what the dragon tells him, and the dragon also puts a spell on him that no sword will pierce him or anything. So he leaves the dragon really confused. And still, he's not so sure that he should keep killing these people. So even at first, when he goes back to the mead hall, and the war officially started, he doesn't kill people. He just again observes and listens. Then one day, he accidentally steps on a stick, a dog barks, and the people see him, and the people start attacking him. And they start, trying to get him with the swords, but they can't because of that spell. And Grendel has no choice. He starts attacking him back, but he's so strong. He kills them, yeah, and eats some of them. And then everyone's like, "Oh, Grendel's this terrible person," but Grendel didn't want that. He just wanted to be a friend, just like kind of Frankenstein. He just wanted to be acquainted, which is very interesting. And the character in Unferth is supposed to be like a hero. I thought it was really interesting that he actually follows Grendel back to his home and is like, "Alright, kill me. Like, I want to show everyone that I'm a hero." And Grendel doesn't want to. He has no desire to kill him. He actually picks him up, drags him back to the mead hall because he knows it'll be more embarrassing for this guy to not kill him and not have him a hero and just say he did nothing. And talks about, like, even further on this point when one night, instead of tormenting Unferth, he just throws apples at him and doesn't kill him. And it's embarrassing because Unferth wants to be this great hero, but Grendel doesn't want to kill him and knows he doesn't need to. That it's more embarrassing for Unferth not to die while other people die. So, anyway, this war goes on for a very long time, and I think it's really interesting in the book. As this war goes on, Grendel's language starts to get really, really different, which is a theme in the novel. The motif talks a lot about language, but his language starts to get much more vulgar. He starts to start cussing a lot. Even in the book, he starts cussing, and it's demonstrated by this innocence has been broken by the humans. The humans have broke the innocence and the good talk, and now he's cussing and everything. And it's just, it's just not the greatest for him. Well, I mean, he's broken his innocence. And this is demonstrated by a really, really interesting scene, is near the end of the novel, when Grendel sees a goat. And he's back in his lair, and the goat is kind of walking, and he's walking to his death, like up a cliff, and Grendel wants to stop him, and he's like yelling at him, he's throwing rocks at him, but he can't. And this goat symbolizes the innocence that Grendel once had. He realizes that Grendel says, like, "Oh, you have nothing here, there's nothing for you here," thinking that, like, just like him, if he starts to interact with Grendel, starts to interact with humans, he'll become evil, he'll lose his innocence. Which is really sad to say that Grendel realizes he loses his innocence, but he can't go back. He wants to go back, but he can't. And he wanted to just be friends with the human, just like Frankenstein just wanted a companion. He just wanted a companion, but he can't. And he turns it and kills the people because he have to. And then the end of the novel we start to see Beowulf more. Beowulf comes, and it's actually interesting. When Beowulf comes, Grendel says he's going to kill the Geats and Beowulf's men because he takes pity on Hrothgar, and he knows that's kind of embarrassing for Hrothgar to have to call another person. So he's going to kill him. But anyways, Beowulf comes in. We all know the rest of the story. Beowulf kills him, and that's it. But the last scene's very interesting. He talks about how Grendel was an accident. Those were his last words before he died. He says, "I was an accident." And which really shows that he never meant to be evil. He didn't want to be evil. It was just an accident that through his interaction with the humans, he he lost his innocence and he turned into a monster. So really, kind of society made him a monster, which is kind of one of the questions that this focused on. And what's the difference between humans and a monster? Well, really not so much. These humans were killing each other, what seemed like no reason for Grendel to. And these humans had cussing. Grendel said, "Oh, we monsters don't have cussing." So really, it's all about perspective. I mean, these humans were monsters to Grendel, and to Grendel, to the humans, Grendel was the monster. So, there's really not, who's to say? Now I'm going to transition to some themes, and those really are the themes. Kind of got ahead of myself, but the monsters and humans aren't really so different. What are humans monsters? What makes a monster? That's what this book shows, is that, Grendel's, this big monster, but so are humans, and Grendel never even wanted to be this monster, and perhaps something happened along the way to humans to make him this bad, kind of all evil, but it's not what he intended to happen. It's not what Grendel wanted. And then finally, I touched on this a little bit, but it's the same theme that really is in Frankenstein, is that loneliness drives evil in people. Grendel was super lonely. He really had nobody. His mother didn't really speak to him. He felt that his mother loved him basically because she had to, not that she actually liked him. She loved him because he was her son. But yeah, so those were the themes. And then the symbols I touched on about the goat, and how the goat symbolized like the innocence in people, and Grendel did not want the goat to lose that innocence like he did. And even Grendel can symbolize, this book can be taken, as a broader perspective, and Grendel can even symbolize that innocence, and how that innocence is lost even in today's society. We talk about how society as a whole has really influenced different people and really caused them to go into evil. So if we try to take a step back from this book, take a step back from the room, we can see that the message is much deeper than just retelling Beowulf from Grendel's perspective. It's saying how society can make us monsters, and we need to be careful about who we categorize as monsters, and look at ourselves before we categorize these people as monsters, which is definitely relevant in today's society. So I think that's super awesome, and well, I don't think that's super awesome that people are making monsters, but I think it's a super good message, and one that's super thought-provoking. So that's going to wrap up my discussion today. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. I'll see you next time, partners.